And as we mentioned, Wall Street soared today on hopes that the U.S. Senate would approve an economic rescue plan. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained a record 2,100 points to close at 20,705. The Nasdaq rose 557 points, and the S&P 500 added 210. For more on the rescue plan and other efforts to battle the pandemic, we turn again to Lisa Desjardins at the Capitol and to Yamiche Alcindor at the White House. To Lisa, I'm going to start with you first. Individual Americans, in particular those who may become unemployed as a result of the coronavirus, what's in this plan for them?
Well, that's important. First of all, an update. We are still waiting to see the plan and the text, and we do not know yet if there will be a vote tonight. It looks more likely a vote tomorrow on this as they're putting the ink on paper. Judy, absolutely, this is what Americans want to know. Let's start with those who have lost their jobs or could lose their jobs. Here's what's in this for them, for the unemployed. There would be up to $600 over usual unemployment benefits for each person. That would mean close to full pay for most Americans. Not every, but for most middle-class Americans, you could get an unemployment benefit of full pay. That is for 4 months, Judy, and that is an increase over the original plan for this bill.
And Lisa, we know another important piece of this legislative plan has to do with small businesses. Tell us about what's in there for that, for them.
This is the part that they agreed on the earliest, but here's where we are, $350 billion in loans for small businesses. Now, those loans will become grants. Essentially, they will be forgiven if those small businesses keep those workers on the payroll, keep those workers paid. And the Treasury Department, I'm told, has a provision in this where they can use tax credits to cut those checks more quickly than usual, get that loan money out more quickly for small businesses making up 48% of the workforce here in America.
And now to you, Yamiche, another part of this, of course, has to do with the larger businesses, corporations, and we know that this is an area where the White House apparently gave ground on. What do we know about that?
That's right. Well, the president says that he's eager to get a bill passed in Congress. And in doing so, the White House, they say, made compromises. To put up some of the compromises that they made, it's dealing with large corporations. There's going to be $500 billion going for these large business loans. There's going to be now an inspector general and an oversight board to look at how Secretary Mnuchin, Treasury Secretary Mnuchin, disperses these loans. And then Treasury Secretary Mnuchin himself will have to answer to Congress. He will be able to be called up to Congress to answer questions. So what we see here is the White House saying, look, we want to make a deal. Democrats, they were saying at one point, we're trying to add all sorts of things that they thought was not related to the coronavirus bill. But we now see the White House really moving closer and closer to having that deal done.
And we know at the same time, Yamiche, this is to Lisa now, let me come back to you on this. This is a bill that does deal more than with just businesses. It also is going to have some help for hospitals, for states. Tell us more about that part of it.
That's right. Some important provisions in here, Judy. We're told that it has $130 billion in it for hospitals, including rural hospitals, $150 billion for states, counties, and cities, for local governments. And then also, Judy, this has in it, we're told, a freeze on federal student loan payments. Now, Judy, we want all the details of all this. The details are important. We're waiting. But one big detail, Judy, we're told the price tag is over $2 trillion. Judy, that would make that the largest single bill in American history, the largest single legislative measure for one-time spending in history.
And just quickly, Lisa, at this point, we think we know everything that's in there or not?
We don't. We don't know what's in it all the way, not yet.
And again, on timing, Lisa, you said it may not be tonight.
Right. It may not be tonight, could be tomorrow.
So finally, Yamiche, let me come back to you with this last question, and that is what the president had to say today about getting the country back to business. It's something he raised yesterday. He spoke more about it today.
That's right, Judy. President Trump is making it crystal clear that he wants to try to ease the coronavirus guidelines that the White House issued, which were focused on social distancing and telling people not to be in groups of larger than 10 by April 12th. That would be Easter Sunday. The president said he wants to see church packed by then. Now, health officials have stressed repeatedly that this coronavirus outbreak could last all the way until the summer. President Trump himself has said that this could last until August, but the president is making clear that he wants to ease those guidelines. He says that he believes more people will die if the economy is slowed down than if the virus hurts people or kills people. So the president there is stressing that, but it's not clear whether or not he's getting that guidance and that data from health officials. The other thing to note, Judy, is that the president is getting pushed still by governors to enact the Defense Production Act. The president just now, he's still speaking at the White House in this hour at a White House briefing. He's saying that he still doesn't need to do that act, that instead American companies are volunteering and there's enough medical equipment being made to meet the needs of hospitals all across the country.
So still not using the full federal power that he has.
That's right.
All right, so much to follow. Yamiche Alcindor, Lisa Desjardins, thank you both.
Thanks.
We appreciate it.